The Wagadu Chronicles is both an afro-fantasy MMORPG with survival elements and a D&D 5th edition campaign setting. Developed by Twin Drums based within Europe and West Africa, it was funded in part through Kickstarter with additional funding including backing by Riot Games. I wanted to make a video breaking down my feedback on where the project is now that Alpha 3 has concluded and where I think it could go. I myself backed the game on Kickstarter and participated in each alpha test to this point, so I have had a good chance to watch the game develop. While I will be focusing largely on things I believe need to be fixed or improved, just know that I love the Wagadu Chronicles and played the heck out of it whenever I have been able to do so, and spent countless hours chasing down bugs and helping other players where I could. First, we'll start on character creation. The character creator is wonderful in that it does not anchor itself to any gender binaries, instead allowing the player to mix and match body traits. This has been broadened and expanded upon since previous alphas, with more flexible options. Of course, it can always use more options, more body types, more hair, more faces, and so on. But these have already been committed to by Twin Drums. There are still some typos here and there, and I'd love to get my preferred name in the list of Amir, but those are minor points. Overall, the character creator really asks the player to think about their character's place in Wagadu, as even a fallen's name has significance to who they are in this new world. It gives a sense of what skills you might want to focus on and how you wish to roleplay your character. Next, we'll cover the tutorial. Alpha 3 adds the first instance of an in-game tutorial, a realm between the world above and Wagadu, where the fallen start their journey. Players are introduced to spirits, gathering, crafting, and a bit of combat. While rather straightforward, there were some players who came into the Wagadu Chronicles completely cold and encountered some difficulties. Particularly, players were getting caught up and not knowing where to go if they wandered off the prescribed path. There was some confusion around crafting weapons and how that affected combat. There was also an issue with throwing knives only working in melee range, which caused some general confusion as well. As a whole, most players seem to get through the tutorial with the skills needed to move into the wider world of Wagadu, and a simple walkthrough video I made seemed to catch anyone else up who needed it. On to combat. Combat may be the place where Wagadu needs the most improvement. The system of how combat flows with small and large groups is fun and engaging. Combat takes place on a hex grid and is turn-based. There isn't a ton of time to strategize, and while this adds to the excitement of the system, it can also lead players to attacking an enemy that is already dead. Most of the actual problems boil down to lack of statistical information on what a given item does, what abilities it grants, and how those scale as you level up your skill or increase the quality of weapons. While the various combat skills give a basic idea of what they do, when you get into the magical abilities such as godly arms and battle music, it becomes a bit less clear. It's also not clear how the quality of weapons affect your abilities. While I understand the feeling that you want to obscure the exact numbers for various reasons, a general idea of which grade of weapon is better would help players plan their life on Wagadu. While this is not part of the current design of the game, I would like to see a higher quality versions of weapons such as the Sistrum Sap grant different abilities instead of just stronger versions of the same ability. When combat goes well, it's a ton of fun. All that is really needed is more clarification so that when a player invests in a skill or takes an action or whatever they plan as they're creating their character and developing, the results are within their expectations. It's very frustrating when you spend some time leveling up your skill and then you go and do into combat and it doesn't work the way you hoped it would. So that getting that information ahead of time could be more helpful. Now I'm combining crafting, gathering, and tools all into one group because I believe Twin Drums has gone a long way to enhancing the overall experience for these gameplay features from the previous alphas, and the remaining issues are more broad across all of Wagadu. The gameplay loop of the Wagadu Chronicles involves venturing out as a newly fallen, gathering ingredients, crafting tools, clothes, dyes, weapons, and so forth, and then returning to gathering more ingredients for even grander tools and clothes and dyes, and so There's farming as well and stuff like that. But that's your basic loop: is go out, get the stuff, come back, make it, and then go get better stuff. Gathering is a fun and relaxing way to spend time, but you spend a great deal of your time on it as well as crafting. It's a good portion of the gameplay loop. It might be better if Wagadu was more in line with other survival games, where you could set a harvesting action and let it run until a node is exhausted. The player runs out of inventory or stops harvesting. Crafting right now itself already has these options. Once you're leveled up, your settlement facilities, perhaps higher grades of tools could provide more consecutive gathering attempts, or something to that, like not just faster gathering. Tools also fall into the same difficulties as weapons, and that it's not always clear which one is better. To further complicate things, some tools only can be crafted or equipped at a higher level, regardless of the quality of the tool. This ultimately leads to the question of why bother having the lower tiers at all. Probably the biggest hindrance to crafting is that it requires all of your attention. The UI takes over the entire screen, and you can literally do nothing else. Having the crafting UI take up, say, half of the screen so that you could also talk to other players and roleplay as each of you work on the task in the village would help a lot, because then you can still interact and be involved with the world around you while you're doing your crafting. Right now, once you start crafting, your chat is gone, everything's gone, you can't really do anything but craft. Twin Drums set out to build an immersive roleplay focused afro-fantasy experience, and they're doing a great job of delivering to this point. The Twin Drums team has been organizing group events during the alphas, though we do not know how much time they will be able to commit to this in the launch version of the game. Player-run events have been few and far between, but I believe these will grow naturally in the live game. I've ran a few myself, and they were pretty fun. The community is welcoming, diverse, and tends to each other nearly as much as the game itself. There is a heavy focus on staying in character while in-game and keeping disputes to a minimum. Out-of-character problems can crop up as in any game, but so far, the community has been able to discuss them calmly and settle any short-term issues. This, of course, will get harder as the community expands, but I know it's possible to maintain this level of cooperation, and this group seems eager to do so. The biggest shortfall right now is that almost all planning and community interaction happens in Discord. This is fine for alpha and beta testing, but as you open to a wider audience, only a small portion of the player base will likely use Discord. This may result in missed events, feeling disconnected from the community, or simply quitting due to not knowing what to do next. An in-game method for connecting with other players needs to be a focus prior to going live. Some have suggested message boards in the settlements, society, or village-wide chat rooms, and the ability to chat and roleplay while doing other tasks, as I mentioned before. Additionally, improved camera controls, the ability to hide the UI, the ability to edit the UI, and other quality of life issues would greatly improve sharing the community experience to others outside of Discord. Next, we get into societies, settlements, wakas, and PvP. The big one. In the Wagadu Chronicles, players work together to build a world from nothing to a place to live and call home. Each island has settlements and outposts, which can include various crafting, farming, trade, and other communal stations. Like crafting stations, basically. Part of that involves providing offerings to the spirits referred to as wakas. These wakas then control what you can build and what you can accomplish on a given island. This is the main survival mechanic of the game. Make no mistake about it, the Wagadu Chronicles is a PvP game. Specifically, it is a social PvP in which different groups can band together in the game's version of guilds called societies and vie for control of various settlements and outposts by appeasing the waka spirits. As a society gains control of these wakas, they're able to improve the associated settlement. This does not mean that the settlement is locked to a particular society, and in fact other societies can and do help build up local settlements in exchange for being able to use these upgraded facilities. However, it is possible for a rival society to appeal to the waka and challenge for control of the settlement. This opens up opportunities for role-playing both as antagonists and allies. The system for challenging for control of a Waka is very rough at this stage, and Twin Drums has received a lot of feedback on ways this could be improved. There are two major issues the community has with the PvP elements as they stand. First is the existence of PvP in the game at all. This, however, is a core feature of the game, so it's not really negotiable. But I believe the Wagadu Chronicles could make some room for players not interested in PvP aspects of the game. There have been several suggestions. My own suggestion was to have a neutral village that cannot be challenged by any society, to incentivize players to actually go and form a society and build their own village and work together. This neutral settlement would be capped at a significantly lower rate tier. So like in the current alpha, the top tier is 5. I know that's going to be extended later on, but in the current tier is 5. So in this example, the neutral settlement would be capped at tier 3. This would provide a safe haven for non-PvP minded players while keeping to the core of the game, which is going out and building this world with your community, with your friends. The second concern is griefing. When a society controls a Waka, a large portion of their day-to-day gameplay is devoted to maintaining the settlement. This doesn't include upgrades, but simply maintenance. When a society challenges for control of a Waka, the occupying society must divert some of their resources to defense, while still doing all the normal things they need to do for maintenance. By contrast, a challenging society can devote all of its resources to a single task, taking over that village. This not only results in a highly imbalanced system, but players could choose to challenge Wakas simply to hinder another society's progress until finally the village begins to falter, further sapping the ability of the controlling society to defend itself. You know, you attack the village, they have to spend money, they have to spend resources on the defense, and maybe their tailor station falls down one level, and so on and so forth. So you can do these challenges just to grief a settlement, not with no intent of actually winning, right? So that's a concern. And those are my thoughts on the Wagadu Chronicles. Obviously, there are more aspects of the game that I haven't covered. I've kind of shown those off in other videos. But this is just the things that I really wanted to focus on as far as feedback for Alpha 3. I hope this video was informative, and I would love to create discussions around things you liked, didn't like, and would like to see improved in the comments below. We'll be able to make sure our thoughts can be brought together to improve the game we love. If you would like to keep an eye out for more news on the game, I'll cover it whenever I can, and I'm on every platform as Hikari Kanzaki, though I mostly stick to Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. I'll be creating more video content for Instagram and TikTok as I'm able to do so. Until then, I will see y'all later. Bye!